All right. Thank you. Okay, we're back from break. Welcome back to those of you viewing on the webcast as well. Let's go ahead and resume with our agenda. Let's go ahead and invite the one and only Brad Hanson up from our Employer Account Management Division. He's going to talk to us about new system requirements. Come on, Brad.
School employers and friends. It's good to see all you again. Saw some of you at the CASBO meeting last month. Dina, I saw you there. So originally this presentation was about new requirements that we were going to implement. One we implemented in April, another one we were going to implement in July, but now we kind of backtracked on that. The two requirements were, one, we were going to set pay rate thresholds. So if you had a pay rate over $20,000, it was going to air out and make you certify it was correct. And then there was a separate verification. If it was over $30,000, then our compensation review unit would have to verify that. Well, we decided we're taking that back for right now, so we've turned that validation off. We had some issues with our implementation, plus we didn't have good communication for that, so we got tons of questions. And we're pushing that out till early next year. So we will turn it back on eventually. And the main purpose again for that is to try to eliminate bad data coming in the system, to like stop those $1 million pay rates accidentally getting reported, which believe it or not happens. And then every year we have to go in and try to get those corrected for when they do the rates every year. So that's going to be pushed out. So that verification's been turned off. If you happen to have any errors associated with that, you can go ahead and validate them. But if you don't feel comfortable validating them, let me know and we can find a way to push them through for you. I think most of them have been cleaned up by now, though. All right, the second thing that we've kind of been putting on your radar, but we're going to be pushing back till next year, is requiring category and type for special comp. Right now, it will be a good thing, though, in the long run. But for now, we're going to give you guys more time to get your systems updated. We're trying to get a circular letter put together and sent out next month. I've seen it already. It just has to go through our process where a lot of different areas have to approve it. But we're looking to push that out till early next year. So both of these requirements that I was going to talk to you about today are not going to happen until January, or probably more like February or March of next year, because that will be when our next release is. So that's pretty much all the update I had for that. Here's a couple other tidbits I wanted to bring up to you. Our benefits division, the division that calculates your retirement, they wanted to do it, have me give you guys a reminder about reporting retroactive salary adjustments or retroactive special comps. If you're going to do it and you're intending to do it for a span of time, make sure you use the date range feature. For instance, if you put one lump sum special comp in December, but you only put it for December, we're only going to use it for that month. If it was really intended to span July through December, then you need to put that range in there so it spreads it out equally. Sometimes it doesn't impact the calc, other times it might. So just keep that in mind. They've seen, I wouldn't say they've seen a lot, but they've seen enough to where it creates issues when they try to calc their retirement. Same thing with the retro salary adjustments. What they've seen a lot of times is you're trying to do a retro salary adjustment for like 3 months, but you just put it in the range for 1 month, but you put enough earnings for 3 months. The way our system works, though, it's not going to spread it out unless you use that date range feature. So are you guys aware of that? Okay. Just a friendly reminder, and it will make the calcs go through a lot quicker. I was talking to Kelly Smith. I think you guys know her as well. She's the employer response team representative, if you will. She said, and I think it's a good idea to let you guys know we went through this big reorg now. And so if you see any information on our emails or letters that says EAMD, which is Employer Account Management Division, that's the old CASD division for employers. So don't be alarmed if you see that EAMD, that's still us, the friendly people at payroll. Yeah, and the others as well. All right, so do you guys have any questions on any of that? Yes, Vina. Hold on one sec. He's got a mic for you.
First thing, don't send a letter to our office because I worked so hard to get it in place, the program.
Okay. Payroll doesn't send out too many letters. So.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I'm glad. I just got it done. So anyway,
Okay.
My question is, when this goes in place, category, subcategory, and we make a adjustment to the unknown period, adjusting past information,
Yes,
we will still be able to do unknown?
correct.
It will accept unknown at that
That's an
point?
excellent question. So that's how we're going to build it. So like our legacy data, the stuff prior to my CalPERS or stuff that you're submitting now, if you use unknown and you need to reverse it, we'll allow you to still reverse with unknown.
Thank you.
Yeah, because if not, then there would be no way to back it out. Good question.
Thank you. I'm Patty from MCOE. You said that pay rate threshold, if we still had suspended records out there, that we could contact you?
Yeah,
Was
you
it
can contact me and we can work something out to push those through. The errors associated with those are the CRB 249 and the CRB 250.
Okay, thank you.
If you certify them, it won't be any harm, but if you don't feel comfortable with that, just let me know. We'll push them through for you. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Brad. Okay. All right. Next on the agenda is going to be a preview of the brand new CalPERS external website. And I'll be giving a short preview of this. So earlier, Michael showed you, was showing the external site, and you're familiar with that. That's the true calpers.ca.gov site. For the past 2 years, there's been a massive project internally to revitalize this site, bring this into the millennium. And I realize we're 15 years into it, and that's what I'm saying, is that this was a big task that was overdue, but we're very happy with the results. So I'd like to show you, have a little preview of this. This will be going live in a little more than a month, so it's coming up very quickly. We're just kind of putting the finishing touches on it. So some of the pictures that you'll see can be changed. They're just kind of like template pictures as far as like the people that are shown happily searching the site, but the general look will be much like this. So let's go ahead and take a look here. This is going to be the result of over 1,000 different surveys that were administered to users from all the different demographics. So we had folks who, from the employer world, and that was divided up by state users, public agency users, and district users. We asked our internal employees, the folks who are constantly working with the site to find answers for folks. We're like, what would you do differently? And we interviewed both active and retired members as well. So we tried to get a comprehensive picture of what is it that would be the ideal website for you to interact with CalPERS at all these different various levels. How do we serve all these different needs? So here's some of the overall goals that were quickly sussed out. So we wanted to provide simplified navigation and quick access to the important information. That was the primary takeaway, is we want to be able to find it fast, we want it to be intuitive, and then on to the second bullet point, we want to be able to search it too. So we want to be able to either click through the links and find that without going through 17 clicks, or we want to be able to just type in a key term like we've gotten accustomed to using Google and Yahoo and whatnot, and be able to have that intuitively find not just every single document that ever used that word, but the best and most likely accurate document to solve the problem. So those are the two things. We wanted to make it easier access and improve overall user experience for mobile devices. This past year, the official word from the various watchdog groups is that now more people search the internet using their phone and iPad than they do using a computer. So we're kind of going that way. And then we want to offer multiple ways to find an answer, okay, so that you don't have to know the one perfect recipe to get the perfect good. You can get there through multiple different paths. And we wanted to make this look good, frankly. We wanted it to have a certain aesthetic appeal that aligns with the CalPERS brand. So let's take a look. There we go. Okay, so this is the general homepage. Again, the person may be switched out, and it's kind of a carousel banner. It can be switched out on an hourly basis if we want. This is the general look. Clean, simple, intuitive. As you can see, the top part, or in the blue banner, we have the three primary divisions of folks who tend to come to this. So active members, retirees, and employers. We did keep the term employer in the past. CalPERS has experimented with the term business partners, but it kind of backfires. Like, what does that mean? Is that vendors that we're working with, or is it really the core, employer groups that are part of the system? So we're like, let's not complicate this with a non-essential nomenclature. It is employers. So that's the basic look of the front page. This was a collaboration of work between IT, the Public Affairs Office, which handles everything kind of external facing, and our customer service folks, the people who are putting information on here for our external employers such as yourself. So collaborative work took over 2 years. So it's a big job. So what made it such a big job though? Why not just clean up the font and make the spacing a little better and add some pretty pictures? It's because the old system was really what we would call an archival system. So a document gets generated, it gets put on the system, and then 6 months later, a new document along the same topic gets written, and we just move that one down and put the new one on top. Do we really need that old one still there, confusing the search engine? Or is there a more efficient way to do it? There is. Okay, so we are moving from an archival system away from a repository, more to a user-friendly system. Okay, so let's look at some of this. Okay, for example, the current website, the current version, the one that Michael showed earlier, has 1,300 different pages. So you could click to 1,300 different looks. This new one will have only 500, and yet it'll have more and more useful information because we've consolidated it and reduced all of that waste. Okay, so that was 1,300 pages, and a lot of it was either non-essential or duplicative. It was in multiple places, and you would have to kind of connect the dots, just not really the best user experience. So we really want to make that better for you. Okay. At the bottom of the home page, and again, I apologize I'm not just showing you the actual live system currently because it's not fully released. It's only available on our CalPERS internal system, so I'm having to show you some screenshots here. But in your mind's eye, imagine that you logged on to calpers.ca.gov and you just scroll down just a tiny bit to the bottom of that front page. So you have not clicked. It's right there on the front page. We would have this kind of rectangular box here that breaks out the most commonly searched and clicked upon and requested information by an enormous margin. Everything that's not here is going to be very much an isolated kind of like a one-off thing. These are what folks at all levels are looking for. So I want to, you see it's broken down by general concepts rather than the exact name of the form. So I want to attend a board meeting. That will kind of guide you in the right path. Life events. This is the main one, especially for our members. So that's when most active members come to this site. If your personal business, if your job doesn't force you to come to this site, very few people will come to this other than when they're told, hey, you just got married, you just got divorced, you just had a kid, you want to add a beneficiary, whatever that is, whatever that major life event is, that's when they come here. And so we want to make it real clear where to go. This is going to help everybody in the system. It's going to help our call center from saying, oh, you called me because you couldn't find it on the website, let me walk you through it. It's going to help the person's frustration level. It'll help the folks working at the districts who often have to field these questions and walk people through it. So it's really just going to help everybody. And you can kind of see, hopefully it's coming through clearly there that it's clear. And then on the right, we have the forms and publications, those primary forms that folks are usually requesting and now they can get those through the life events as well, but if they have an idea of what they're looking for, those are right there. So this alone, I really think that, we're thinking that the homepage, many people may not click past the homepage is what we're saying. Like this will be, they're like, oh, there's what I wanted, click, and they're not going to do any more real searching. It'll be very useful in that sense. Let's go to, okay. Again, it's not ideal. I apologize because it would be much nicer if we could look at the actual site. But here you see it's broken up by news and events. This is going to be very easy to find. It'll always be refreshed every single day. Okay, what's coming up? What's the hot topics going on the left? What's the news? Links to our social media. We're very much actively trying to get people to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, everything, so that they can get that, have CalPERS related information just kind of drilled into their regular, internet experience. We're going to have videos. It's going to be interactive in that sense, or rather multimedia. Just a total complete upgrade in quality and usability, very much like a fancier corporate website. We're trying to get away from the kind of drudgery of the government forms, going through all that. We're trying to make it a little bit more dynamic. I think we've succeeded here. Back here, this is a slide that's demonstrating that the entire site is built to be scalable, meaning if you were to pull this up on your iPad or a cell phone of any size, you're not going to have to say it's configured for that. If you click on some older websites now, you may have had to move the website around. This essentially turns it into an app, okay, where it's configured to your screen. It's not an app, okay. You will not have to download the app from the iTunes store, but it works that same way, where it automatically recognizes the device upon which you are accessing the website and conforms to that. So again, right with our whole usability improvements. The search functionality, which you can kind of see in the top right of the larger of these two squares, is going to be synced up with Google. It's not just mimicking the Google process, it is using the Google search engine. So that's very much business standard. It's going so that essentially when someone types in a key word or key phrase, it's searching for the documents within the system that are most likely going to provide the needed information. As I said, it's not just going to find everything dated or in alphabetical order that has that word. That's not really helpful. It's going to be kind of like that almost intelligent search engine optimization work. Here's the tab that you folks would likely be using the most. So again, like we said, across the blue tab we had home, we have active members, we have retirees, and then for employers. So you can kind of consider this your employer homepage. You can even set this to be your homepage so that you don't have to, you can save yourself an extra click here. Employers, in our various surveys and focus groups, we did over 25 actual focus groups with people from different demographics coming in, sat them at a computer and said, click through this and tell us what you think. One of the takeaways from the employer group focus groups was to say, we really don't like to have to log in as school districts to see school district specific stuff. We'd rather just be able to see everything and then filter it down. We don't want to have to kind of log in or self-identify in that sense when we're just looking for generic information, so you won't have to. As a result of our analysis, the top employer tasks that were searched or used on the website are, this is the takeaway, the top things the employers were doing was logging into my CalPERS. Okay, so because of that, you now see that there still is a nice My CalPERS login in the top right corner. Next thing that employers requested, finding circular letters, okay, get reporting info, find pension reform information, learning about procedures, find education and events, get forms and publications, and find health plans and rates. Okay, so those are really the top 8 things that most of our employers of the various groups were doing. And so we're trying to make those very, very easy in this system. Speaking of those circular letters, there'll be an easy kind of, or a more clear repository of those, sorted by letter number. It's got the subject, the audience to whom it went, and much more besides. Again, apologize that we won't be able to show you the actual site through the system. This will be happening very, very soon, though. There'll be a switch over, and then we're really optimistic that this is going to be a more pleasant experience for you, both as employers and as personal members of the system as well. I think that's it on this one. Great. Okay. That's all I have on that. What questions do you have for me on the upcoming CalPERS external website? Yes. Yeah, great question.
Since PERS is looking into sleek, clean look with this new website, and you mentioned that some of the employers, they wanted to see all, some prefer to see only school information, for example. So can we have a choice?
No, that would be awesome if you can kind of set the filter. At this time, when you go there, you'll have the option to see everything, and then you'll have to kind of click specific. You'll have to look and determine, okay, what do I want to do just for my district?
I mean, for
I hear what
school
you're
employer, let's say there are 20 circulars and I'm only interested to see circulars for school only.
I don't, as far as I know, there is not that search feature, but I'll find out. Specific to the circulars, that sounds reasonable to me that you would do a little search, and if we had the site here, I would just do it real quick and see if it worked. But I'll find out and get back.
Other items.
That's good.
I have other items like reference material, like our PERS manual, where it's all jingle mingled with everybody on it, and then you have to read it, what applies to us, and then miscellaneous is used for so many different categories. If we can even have to that level where we can separate the information for school employers, or right now whenever a district wants to look at a member information, they go to one screen to see if it's a member, then they have to go to another screen to see if it's contributory appointment or not. You know, it's not the best way
Right.
or easy way for them. Sometimes they even forget to go to that level. Yeah. They just look at it, member, okay.
Without clicking through, I can just assure you that the testing was also done with our internal staff as well. So it's in their best interest to ensure that what you're getting is going to be the most user-friendly from your end version. So with all that testing, you know, that certainly would have been taken into account. I wish I could demo it here, but I guess we'll just have to trust that they got that.
Just suggestions, if it can be more to your use and you don't have to go through
Filterable,
everything.
yeah.
Thank you.
Makes sense. Other questions on the website up here?
Kind of a reiteration of what Vina was saying. By the way, I'm Melissa Anderson from San Bernardino County Office of Ed. I wanted to reiterate the importance of differentiating between school members and miscellaneous members and others. Not only for us, you know, it's probably a little easier for us as advisors to all the school districts, but we get a lot of questions from the school districts, and they get, you know, they'll read circulars and those kinds of things that don't apply to them, and so it kind of ties up everyone's time. They get concerned about issues they really don't need to be concerned about, whereas if we could just focus on the school, you know, the school employers, that'd be a huge help to, I think, everyone involved.
I think that's certainly valid, and I'll take that back to the team and communicate a response.
Hi, Ramona from Stanislaus. My comment's not necessarily on the website, but additionally, when we have districts who call into the call center, it would be great if we could have a dedicated school line, because inevitably they're given information that does not apply to them. So then they contact us, and it, once again, ties up a lot of time.
I had a couple of questions. Number one, so in listening to this, have there been changes similar to this within the CalPERS?
This is not going to impact CalPERS.
So that part stays as is, okay. Yeah. And the other question, from your home page, when you had the tabs, you've got home, employer, or active employee. Yeah. What about an outside, say, a public, just general public, or say our IT people who want to go on and look for the Employer Advisory Committee or attend a GASB? How would they best maneuver from that homepage? and I can't read, to be honest, it might be under that first
Neither can
column.
I. The gray blotch area, I believe. No, I mean, like any website, not everything will be immediately available to every possible person who can click through it. So our goal is just to make it as intuitive as possible. So for example, if they were searching for GASB, they would just type in GASB in the search engine, click, and that will take them to the top resources that address that. So without being able to identify what exactly that would be, I'm sure that from there they'd be able to find it. That's always the nice fallback, is if you don't see the link, within that first couple of seconds of browsing, just use this newly amped up search engine to find whatever.
So, and for the general public who won't be able to log in as members or employers, there's going to be enough on the general site
Yes.
that they can find out about CalPERS.
It's not locked away or anything like that. It's not password specific or anything. So that will be searchable in there. Thank you. Let's read it.
So hi, good morning. My name is Rita Guy, and I'm the chief for stakeholder relations, and David's on my team. The team that put the website together is part of the public affairs, and we both work for external affairs. And so we do have a launch of the last weekend of June, and we will be working to message out the new website. So certainly we will communicate the suggestions that were made today back to our team, which is just a walk down the hall to another cubicle area. But we'll make sure that we take back your concerns. Unfortunately, because we can't really look at it right now, I'm sure that a lot of your concerns were addressed, especially for school-specific information and a resource to you. But we will certainly let Lisa Kuntz know, and she's overseeing this website project. So we do want you to know that your comments do not fall on deaf ears. We will share that and go back. The wonderful aspect about all this is that we're sharing it with you today, and it's May 13th, but we're launching at the end of June, and we'll be putting it out on July 1st. The intention of that last weekend in June is so that if there are any glitches, any grave concerns, we can make adjustments, and then when we push it out July 1st, we've addressed what we can. So your input is very valuable, so thank you very much. We'll make sure we take that back.
Thank you, Rita. Okay, why don't we move on to the final piece of the CalPERS portion of the SEAC meeting. I'd like to invite some of our subject matter experts from our various employer-facing units to come up, to literally step up to the plate here to our panel. And at this time, we'd like to field questions and topics that haven't been covered. Keeping in mind that if it's an ultra-specific topic, that is really a one-offer, specific to a one employee or a one-time situation, I do probably think that there's times to talk to them individually. If it, however, reflects a problem or an issue or a recurring situation that could likely help the rest of the room, this is the perfect time. So don't be shy, folks. Ms. Rollins. Thank you so much. Okay, so anyone would like to start us off? Is there a topic that has been pressing that one of our customer staff can help you with?
What areas are represented possibly?
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, so let's go ahead and if you can say your name and the areas that you represent, that'd be terrific.
So I'm Heather Herf, and I'm representing the CalSTRS election area.
Taj Lawrence, Membership and Account Adjustments Unit.
Christina Rollins, membership.
Rosanna Castaigne, Benefits.
Brad Hanson, payroll, and I want to mention I'm now over the PA billing for health.
My question is from benefits. I received the email from benefits saying that when a PERS retiree accepts a certificated job like teacher or something, because of PEPRA changes, there are limitations, and I want you to go over that.
Okay. in terms of, you probably all know, in the past there was a government code section in the Pearl that allowed CalPERS retirees to work in a permanent STRS position as a teacher. Okay, PEPRA effectively superseded that provision. So I know there's been confusion about it. When PEPRA first came out, we said it was fine, it would continue like that. We subsequently got legal guidance on it and got the word that because the employers with school districts are the same as CalPERS, then technically PEPRA supersedes it, and that retirees should only work in CalSTRS retired annuitant compliant positions. So we did that most recently, and now we're reversing it again, and it's kind of a little, there's a balance to it. And the reason being is that technically the law does not exist. So when we get the question from a retiree, can you guarantee that if I work for a CalSTRS teaching position, it won't affect my PERS retirement? We cannot make that guarantee because of the law. Our experience with PEPRA so far is that when the legislature discovers these kinds of things, like, presumably this was sort of unnoticed, they didn't realize that that was the effect of it. And so they come back with legislation to correct it. And that's what may happen with this. So, I mean, there may be legislation that says, yes, it restores the exception for STRS teaching positions, or they may come back and say, no, we don't want anyone to have a permanent job and a pension at the same time, because that is the underlying purpose of PEPRA. So the guidance that we're giving now is that, yes, if a person wants to work, if a CalPERS retiree wants to work in a STRS teaching position, they can do so. But there's not a guarantee that they will be able to do it forever. And so they need to understand that risk.
So they can accept a permanent position of teaching, but there is no guarantee that it won't impact their PERS benefits?
For however long that they want to work that, yeah.
Okay, and so even if that happens, it will be, if there is some consequences, it will be going forward from that
Presumably,
point?
most laws passed are
But
going
not
forward.
whatever they have done, because
Presumably.
nobody could give them a clear guideline, so they shouldn't be punished for that.
Right. If there were a new law, unless it says it's retroactive, it would be prospective. That's just how laws are usually
So
passed.
is there going to be any future clarification on it, like a clean
We're not
cut?
planning any that we know of. We don't know. As I said,
So we just leave them in the limbo?
Well, okay. Well, what I can say is since PEPRA passed, we had, elected officials were impacted, and so was the Section 21228 earnings limit plan that allowed for IDR retirees to work in permanent miscellaneous positions. So in the 2 years since PEPRA passed, 2013, we tried to get legislation to clarify that, and none of it became law. So now we're saying we're kind of out of it. So the legislature is aware of at least the elected official problem and the 21228. Whether or not this is on their radar, we don't know. So as far as I know, there aren't any plans to propose legislation for that. But that, if a person is planning to work long-term with a CalPERS retirement and a teaching position, if that's their retirement plan and they can't afford to retire without those two incomes, then I think those are the ones that need to really consider it. I mean, we're saying it's okay. We're not going to reinstate them for doing that. We can't, essentially. But we cannot guarantee, we cannot point to a law that says, this is your guarantee that your CalPERS retirement will never be affected.
So in the meantime, we just
It's up
advise
to
them
each individual, but we will give them that caution. We cannot guarantee it. They can do it, but we cannot guarantee it will never affect the retirement. Okay?
I mean, it's not a good answer, but...
No, it's not until there's legislation. I mean, you're certainly free to lobby, your right, write
Okay.
your legislators and say, you need to fix this law. I
Okay.
mean, that's probably would make it happen faster than,
Okay.
than we could do that, but that's pretty much where we are.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Francis from LA County. Given that, what are the potential consequences if
A law is
PERS or the
passed.
law or whatever rules that their retirement will be impacted? Would they be reinstated? Would there be an assessment of some type of penalty for the employee and employer? What are the potential consequences?
Well, presumably, the law would be either you can do both or you can't. So, I mean, the only thing I can really envision is the retiree would have to make a choice. You know, and it might be either continue to be retired or continue the employment. Because those are kind of the two things. So I don't know that, I don't think it would be retroactive, as I said, because laws are usually passed prospectively. But, you know, if somebody had a 10-year plan, you know, to work as a teacher or something, and halfway through that, the law changes, that's the person we're really concerned about. And so, but, you know, other than that, you know, it's whatever's possible in the law. You know, we can't predict that. That's kind of the dilemma we're in.
Okay, there's another issue that complicates that,
Okay.
in that if that individual took an election, and the confusion comes up in, okay, you have a person who's established CalPERS membership,
Okay.
and they take on a certificated assignment, that they elect to remain in CalPERS on that certificated assignment, and that election is for one employer. They retire from CalPERS. They may not come back to that same employer to take on another certificated position, but they may go to another employer and take on a certificated position. And so the confusion is, does that election apply across the board? Because we've been told both ways. We've been told that no, it's only for the employer, meaning that first employer that they retired from, but subsequent employers, the election doesn't hold true. So in that case, the individual can take a certificated position and possibly establish membership with CalSTRS with that other employer.
So the election side of it is correct in what you're saying. It applies to that employer. Once they've gone and taken a job with another employer, that's where this information that Rosanna's sharing comes into play. It almost, in a sense, makes the election part a moot point. Because at this point now, there's questions about whether or not you should or shouldn't take this kind of risk of taking this certificated employment while you're getting a CalPERS pension. And so that makes the election area kind of a moot point, because now it's regardless of whatever employer, this PEPRA kind of issue comes into play. So it does complicate things, but the election still is the same as what we've said, which is the election holds to that employer. But now you'll have to look at this extra consideration.
And so then it would be the employer's responsibility for validating in that situation where the retiree took the election, and make sure that it's not in their district.
Right, and we can help with that.
Hi, I have a question on the same line. So if we have at a community college adjunct faculty who at one point had the right of election to remain in CalSTRS for their CalPERS for teaching, now they're retired, and if they wanted to come back and teach as an adjunct faculty where they're not mandated into STRS, are they eligible with the same employer if they elected CalPERS? I'm hearing no. I just want to confirm that.
My first concern with your question is the part where you said they made an election as an adjunct faculty member. Because if they're not mandated into CalSTRS, they should not be given the election.
That's true today, but long time ago it was not true. Because the whole election issue was if the position there was so much discussion about this issue, and we were told at one time that they had the right to elect if they were CalPERS.
And based on the law in the past, and for quite some time, it is said that they had to require membership. What may have been said, what direction was given, I wasn't around at that time, so I can't speak to that. What I can say is, and if election was made and it was approved and it's been reviewed, and something like this comes up, we're not going to go back and go against that. If an election was not made, or we do not have one on file, it was never sent in, it was never approved, we don't have any authority in the law to approve a backdated election, and we have cases like that today. So that's the first concern I have with that statement. Moving forward, let's just say this person has made an election in the past that was approved. And now going into your second part of the question, can we go over that again, just because I got kind of hung up on the first part?
So she's now retired from CalPERS
CalPERS.
and collecting her benefit. She set out for 180 days, and she wants to come and sub as an adjunct faculty. Is she allowed to or not?
So does that fall under the same concerns?
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah. With Pepper, it's a CalPERS retiree working for a CalPERS employer. So it'd be the same choice. I mean, you can work in, a retired annuitant compliant position. If they want to elect the CalSTRS election, as an active member, if that's an option, it's not. Oh, okay. That part I don't know. Yeah.
Francis from Maleko, what we've been told by CalPERS is that in her situation, if they're coming back to the same employer that they made the election for, and they're coming into a certificated position, that they're treated as a CalPERS retired annuitant on that position.
Right.
Okay, so this person couldn't take an election to become a member of CalSTRS, nor would they qualify for membership in CalSTRS, because they're considered a PERS renewant in that with that employer.
So this is somebody who has made an election to be covered under CalPERS for this employer in certificated positions. So they're coming back as a retiree.
Okay.
And so now they're coming back. It's not a retiree who qualifies for membership in CalSTRS for that part-time adjunct. They're going to be not necessarily qualified for anywhere, except that the election has made them a CalPERS member for this type of position. So if they return, do they fall under the retired annuitant?
Right, yes.
And they would.
Yeah.
Ramona from Stanislaus COE, and I'm jumping topics completely. My question, my question's for Brad. With AB 1522, for my current members who are receiving sick leave under the law and they use it, is it reportable to PERS
While they're active?
while they're active?
Yeah, it'd be like they work that day.
It's creditable
Yeah,
for retirement.
right.
It's just not reportable if they leave. You wouldn't include it in their
If they left.
If they separate employment with me, I wouldn't include that in their
No.
sick leave
They have to
totals.
use it. So if in the month of April, I called in sick 2 days and I use my sick leave, that's reportable, right?
reportable.
But if I separated May 1st and I had 20 hours sick leave still on the books, that's not reportable. Now, when you retire, I don't know if all schools contract or not, it is reportable at that point and they convert that to service credit.
But that was excluded in this
Oh,
law.
so,
But not the.
oh, that's the Assembly bill you're talking about, okay.
Okay.
Sorry, never mind. That's not payroll, I should not have touched that. But yeah, if the person's active, they call in sick 2 days, like in my example, that is reportable. If they separate and they still have stuff on the books, that's not reportable.
Just the time that was.
Used,
Okay.
yep.
I'm still on the same topic of 1522 because, David, it's not trivial to us, wherever you are. No, not trivial. You said minutia, but it's not minutia to us because it's a huge, huge issue, and we're having to develop systems in order to help districts track all the time and everything for the subs and the sick leave and that kind of thing. We were having a discussion during the break about, and I think this goes for you, Roseanne, right? Talking about the sick leave that is earned and the transfer of sick leave. I believe that the Ed Code and my other county office friend, where are you? Back there. Oh, there you are. She's got the code and everything, but the Ed Code doesn't specifically say, when you're talking about transferring of sick leave, it doesn't specifically say transfer of sick leave earned while you were a member. It says transfer of sick leave while working for schools. And so we're hoping that when you're developing your circular that you might address that. Is that correct? I hope I got that. Yeah. Right, as well as buying time. I don't know if anyone want to kick in, some of those who are involved in the conversation on the break. But really the sick leave, it doesn't specify only the sick leave earned while a member will be transferred. It just says sick leave earned while working for schools, and so.
Actually, the circular letter I was talking about would only address the issue of retired annuitants and the sick leave. So what happens in terms, I think your questions are for active members, whether it's transferable during their active employment, and so that's something I don't know that it's ever even been addressed. That would be the EAMD area.
Right. Well, and these are questions though that are being posed to us, and that we need to know as we develop our systems for tracking. According to this law.
Yeah,
So
that part I see where the issue is, because it's like they may not qualify for membership yet, but they're still earning sick leave while
they're earning
working.
sick leave.
And that hasn't been addressed yet as far as the bill, but I'll take that back and we'll follow up with you guys, or I'll follow up with Merle to get an answer on.
Thank you.
That
It's
for
just this huge looming issue.
To clarify.
Did you want to clarify more on that? Yeah.
It's Jeanette McDonald with Tulare County Office of Ed. Actually, the discussion was regarding the question addressed sick leave that was earned regardless of 1522. Keep that out of the loop. Sick leave earned while you're a part-time person not qualified for membership, and then during your career, that sick leave can transfer to any district, and then you're a full-time member, full-time employee, let's say, and you are a member now of PERS. That sick leave still is part of that employee's status. When that employee retires, you said that sick leave earned during part-time service non-member is not counted towards service credit. And under 20963A, I don't see anything that says while a member, sick leave earned while a member. It just says school districts sick leave earned will be credited towards retirement service credit.
Thanks for clarifying that. I wasn't very clear on that.
I think it comes to the point, at the point where the person retires, that non-member sick leave would actually become excess sick leave, and CalPERS does not allow excess to be converted to service. Because we had this issue quite a few years ago, and the person is no longer with CalPERS, but that was the answer that I had received. Unless that person purchased that non-member service, which then backdated their membership effective date, then the accumulated sick leave from that period of time could be used for service credit. But if not, then it results in excess and not able to be converted.
Yeah. It sounds like a membership / benefits question that probably
kind
needs
of
to go
both.
back.
We just,
Because it's outside of this bill. We've always had part-time people who finally qualify for membership who may or may not have earned sick leave that gets lumped in with their sick leave that gets reported at the end of their career. And I don't know.
How do we know what it is?
Right.
Yeah,
so-
we don't.
yeah,
We don't.
because we just have one bucket for sick leave.
Right.
It's not, it's not based on like they were a non-member up to this point and a member. It's one bucket, then who's going to know which one they used and which one is left over?
I think
I
think from what it sounds like, this is a great topic for I think membership and benefits to take back and get all the right people in the room to discuss it and come back with a more concrete answer. Because it sounds like it's almost outside of this bill. It's probably something that's been around, but it's coming more to light. So I think, if everyone would be okay with that, that we could go back and kind of get everybody in their, thoughts together and come back with a more solid answer the next SEAC.
Distribution, if you don't mind. I wouldn't like to wait the quarter. I think that we should work together as a team, that when you guys have an answer that can that we feel is satisfying, our office would be more than willing to send it to the distribution list. I see heads nodding over here, and I just want to make sure that we are able to provide the information to you guys. And if there's any follow-up questions or concerns, we can work through the Office of Stakeholder Relations, which is my office, to make sure that we are helpful. But I want to make sure that everybody knows that the information will be disseminated as soon as we work with our team and they feel satisfied and prepared to share that. So I want to make sure we won't have to wait the quarter. Thank you.
Just so we cover all the bases when it comes to the sick leave, I know that in the past when we've talked about the CalSTRS election and the importance of whether or not the member gets the right or doesn't get the right, that sick leave has been a subject that has been brought up, and that it's not able to convert from one system to another, and so that's been a concern of members when they aren't given the election. So would that be something that you would like also incorporated? Okay, just so I know that I'm in part of it if that's needed. Thank you.
Yeah, just one additional comment is I think AB 1522, and I haven't read it for a few weeks now, but I think it does have specifics about how it's used. I know there is one part that says it cannot be cashed out at retirement, so I think that kind of impacts it, even though our sick leave says if it's earned during the normal course of employment. But I think you've got a time limit on when you use these 3 days, so I don't know that it's going to age 30 years to be an issue at retirement. So are you guys, does each, and just for my own information, does each county office of education are you doing your own interpretation? You're reading 1522 and saying this is how we're setting it up? Or do you have one consistent kind of, and so you're looking to us or STRS to tell you how to do that? Okay, that's what I thought.
All of our individual legal counsels will come up with, you ask 10 different legal counsels, you're going to get 10 different legal opinions. And so,
right, and the other thing is, I think one thing that may inform this is that AB 1522 is part of the labor code. Right. So CalPERS handles the the PERL, okay? So I don't know that, we will be able to address if it's converted to service credit at retirement. We can address whether or not they can use it, and it's reportable, and on my part of how it affects retired annuitants. But I think at some point, we're not going to be the only source of that because we're not experts in the labor code. We're only going to inform about CalPERS related issues, unfortunately. So I don't know if you guys have a representative legal counsel that can give you one interpretation or something, but that's kind of one of the things that it's going to inform this, I think.
We do have groups. As county offices of education, we have SECESA, which is the County Superintendents Association. The county superintendents from all 58 counties in the state, and they all meet, and there are subcommittees of that, the Business Administration Steering Committee, and then they have subcommittees within those areas. But it doesn't always, although we meet and discuss and talk about best practices and that kind of thing, there isn't one overarching legal opinion or something like that. But can I ask a different question?
Sure.
Okay. Speaking of distribution, the directives, the employer directives and bulletins and those kinds of things, is there a specific distribution for Well, okay. I guess no one really cares about this, but I no longer receive them. I don't know why. My management staff gets those kinds of bulletins, but I don't know what happened. Somehow along the way, I no longer receive those. And although they do a correct job, they're awesome. Sometimes I would just like to have a heads up to know so I can bug them to help me write a bulletin about something. Are there different? What are the different distribution lists, and how do we get on them?
Are you talking about circular letters?
For circular letters and any advice from CalPERS and that kind of thing.
Yeah, circular. Rita, maybe. All righty.
The Office of Public Affairs manages the distribution of those based on submission of your email. So if you'd like to look on our, we have communications. There they can sign up for notices for our board meetings. They can sign up for notices or receive the circular letters, or this is the employer bulletins.
I was thinking maybe you just didn't like me anymore. No. I used to get them and I don't get them anymore. I thought, maybe I did something.
No.
Maybe I asked too many questions in a meeting.
Was there something else that you were going to add?
Yeah, I was just going to say, sometimes if you change your email or something like that, there are email blasts you can sign up for. Certain things, it depends on who is listed in my CalPERS to receive certain things. And so what we have found in some of our other programs is that the contact information may not be updated, and there is like one dedicated email to certain things. And so I think a combination of the two, but it's probably something that you may want to go to your website and see who are the contacts, the official contacts on your web page and my CalPERS. But as far as the notices, anybody can sign up for an email blast of every notice that comes out. It could be a quirk in, my CalPERS too.
Other questions? We got one in the back here, Josh.
Thank you. It's Niedo from Santa Clara County COE. Is it possible that we can obtain the contract, a copy of the contract with CalPERS?
Yeah, you can. In some cases, it is uploaded to my CalPERS and it's in your document history. But if you can't find it there, yeah, you can request one. If you call the contact center, they'll send a workflow to the contracts area and they can send it. But if you want, I'll give you my card and I'll have them send it to you.
Yes, because we try to contact the contract unit, something like that. For it's been over a year already.
And nothing?
And
Okay.
nothing come back.
All right. Yeah. See me after this, and I'll give you my card, and send me an email as a reminder, and I'll get you that. Santa
Thank
Clara
you.
County office.
Yes.
All right.
Other questions for our experts at this time? Kind of limited vision here. Okay, I think we're good. All right, thank you very much, brave panelists. Maybe next time we'll arrange to get you some chairs even. All right. Released. Okay, so that's concluding like the CalPERS portion. We've got commitments to meet on our end, get the various involved parties in a room and come to some conclusions about this whole sick leave AB 22 or 1522 thing. And then we'll get that information distributed to you. Let's go ahead and break for lunch. The last thing in your, thank you so much. My staff reminded me, and then I still forgot right away, and then you reminded me. So in your little binders, if you wouldn't mind, there's a small comment card that will, it's very self-explanatory. It'll give us a little idea of how effective you think these meetings are. Please go ahead and rate those. They can be anonymous, or feel free to put your name, and then it's open-ended for comments at the end. Very helpful for us to know what we can do to make this more beneficial for you. And then you can just leave those. Is there like a table in the back there? You just leave those face down on the table in the back on your way out for lunch. You are released, and then we'll kick back at 12:30 for the CalSTRS portion. Thank you.